Oh, so great to see you. So welcome everyone. This is Reinventing Greatness, interviews with inspired leaders. And I'm so excited for my guest today. I can't wait to introduce her to you. But first, I'll let you know that I'm Shari Goodwin. I'm a business strategist, leadership coach, author, speaker, crazy passionate animal lover, and horse lover. And I started this new podcast series. I don't even know if it's a podcast, but it's a Zoom interviews. We'll say Zoom interviews, to bring experts in their fields into this community and be able to share their journey as much as they're willing to share, and kind of help us all gain some insights from that. So I'm excited for today. And let me tell you, this is my friend Andrea Corso. So welcome, Andrea.
Thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh, my absolute pleasure. And I'm going to read your bio. This is a very impressive bio here, so I'm going to read it because I want to make sure that I don't miss anything. So Andrea Corso is an independent researcher, consultant, and leadership coach who has a bachelor's degree in organizational psychology, a master's in human organizational science, and is currently pursuing her PhD in research psychology. Totally cool. Her dissertation research focuses on compassion fatigue in animal care professionals. Andrea is a certified compassion fatigue specialist, as well as a certified leadership and career coach and consultant with over 20 years of experience working with clients to develop leadership skills, develop themselves, advance their careers and businesses, and create whole life success. She has worked with thousands of leaders within mid-size and Fortune 100 companies and government agencies, and is an expert in executive coaching, career development, leadership, and organizational development. Andrea is also an animal advocate and has spent the last 2 decades volunteering and working in animal rescue, most recently as a board member and the director of adoptions for Basset Rescue of Old Dominion, also known as Brood. She has over a decade of experience supporting individuals in pet loss and grief and a host of other emotional issues. Oh my gosh, welcome my friend.
Oh, thank you. It was a mouthful.
Well, you have done a tremendous amount over the past, number of years. And I also noted, I'm like, I think she also wrote 3 books during this whole adventure.
I did.
Oh, geez.
Wow. I didn't have that in there. Yes.
Yeah. Yes. So we'll add that in there too. She wrote 3 books. So, wow. So impressive. So I'm curious, take the deep breath. That's a lot of work.
It's a lot.
So I'm curious about, right now, you talked about compassion fatigue and for animal care professionals. So can you tell us a little bit more about that for folks who are not familiar with that line of work, and kind of what are you doing and moving into now?
So compassion fatigue, for people who are not familiar, is a form of post-traumatic stress. And it is not primary traumatic stress, but secondary, meaning it comes from care. It happens to caregivers, helping professionals who are working with individuals who are suffering and traumatized. And it causes a whole range of negative symptoms similar to post-traumatic stress that can negatively impact all of life, personal life, work life. And compassion fatigue is unique because it develops when there's a bond between the caregiver and the person or animal they're caring for. And what happens with people who experience compassion fatigue is they become fatigued, obviously, from being compassionate, but they also very sadly lose that capacity to continue being compassionate. So they detach, and in many cases, they'll leave the line of work they're in. It's a relatively new area that's been studied over the past decade in animal care community, because I don't think it's very well known about, unless you're in animal work, unless you're in animal rescue or the veterinary professions, you don't necessarily know about the emotional toll that it takes to try and save these amazing animals and many times not be able to save them, whether as a veterinary professional or when you're trying to rescue an animal. So it's an overlooked area that I've become very aware of through my personal experience in animal rescue, and most recently through doing my research for my dissertation.
It's really amazing. And I see that you've made this your career.
Yes.
So it sounds like you were working along, doing some other stuff really well, writing books and helping people, and other educational degrees, advanced degrees as well. So what drove you to make this decision to pursue compassion fatigue?
It started while I was working on my PhD. So when you're working on a PhD, you inevitably have to come up with a topic to do research for your dissertation. And it was a conversation about Andrea, what are you passionate about? What do you do in your free time? And my free time has been animal rescue for years. And so that's what started me thinking about what is needed in this area. What am I seeing that could potentially be an area for research? And compassion fatigue was a big thing that I started to experience, not personally, but see. And then I noted that it was also a gap in the research. So an area that needed more attention. And that was like the first step, essentially, because as I started to do more research, I realized, hey, the animal care community, the people who are giving their time and basically dedicate their lives to saving animals, are really burdened in emotional ways that I don't think is well known, is overlooked, and I don't believe they're getting the help that they need. So that's what kind of became this driving force, because I look around at my life and all the animals that I've adopted over the years, and I think if it wasn't for these people out there saving them, they never would have come into my life, and I wouldn't be able to experience them and their blessings and the lessons. And so we need our veterinary techs, the staff, we need them all to be well so that they can continue to care for the animals. We need the animal rescue workers, the animal welfare workers, the animal advocates. We need them to be healthy and well so that they can continue this very important work. And that's really what drove me to see it as an area that I can lend my service to, and I can help these humans who are helping the animals.
I can hear your passion. It's really amazing. And I'm wondering about, where did this all start for you with the love of animals, the care of animals? Is this something that's been with you since you were a kid, or, how did this all come to be? How did this current vision come to be?
Yes, it's been with me since I was a kid. I was the child who begged her parents for a pet, just anything. from when I started, when I was 6, I remember 6 years old, first grade, I wanted a dog. And so, I mean, years and years of just begging my parents. I think the first pet I got, I was maybe 12, and it was a hamster, which I was thrilled about. It was a hamster, but it didn't last very long. And then finally, when I graduated college, 22, it was my first real pet, my cat. I adopted him as a kitten. And, that's kind of when I really started to experience, for me, the joy of pet ownership. And since then, I've never been without pets. But it did start very young, and I couldn't even imagine my life without animals in it. I just couldn't.
That's so funny. So yeah, we have a few synergies. People might start to see that. So I'm curious, so you say animals. So what's your current configuration in your household look like?
So currently we're usually a 2-dog, 2 basset hound, 2 cat family. We did lose one of our bassets the end of last year, and it's been a journey to actually get over her so that we're ready to add another one in. And this has been the longest, because again, like I've always said, we've always had 2 dogs. And usually when one passes, we'll get another one within a few months. But now here we are, it's almost August, and we're just, Bella, who we lost in December, was a very, very, very special dog. And she had a long decline. And I think that's what's made it difficult for my husband and I to be like, okay, we're ready to fill the vacancy, because for us, it is a vacancy. So we see it as we have space now to give another animal a home who needs a home. And there's always animals who need homes. And so we have the dog vacancy, and we're going to fill it. We just actually had a conversation recently about the right temperament, because our current dog has some of his own anxiety issues. So we need to get the right fit, is really important. But so that's our current configuration, is just one dog and 2 cats, but we're down 1. So I bet if you talk to me in another month, we'll be back up to 2 and 2. No horses like you. No
yeah, right. That's a good thing. Or you could say yet.
Right. You never know. Anything's possible.
Anything's possible. Yeah, that's for sure. Well, and and you talk about the space and all of that. There's the physical space, and then there's the emotional space, right? So it's you may have the physical space, but emotionally she may still be with you, or needed to be with you a little longer emotionally. So I get that. I'm so sorry for your loss.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Oh, it's always hard. So getting back to, okay, so now I'm curious about your career pivot. So it sounds like you've had this whole animal trend and passion for a long time, since you were a child. And then you had this career where you've done a lot of organizational development, executive coaching, leadership development, work with corporations, and I know you quite well, so all over the world, all kinds of really cool things. So how did you, what was it? What was the defining moment when you were like, I'm going to make this little pivot and apply this in a different direction?
I'm not sure that, I'm trying to think of, was there one defining moment? I think it was a series of small steps, which I feel like that's often how it is. I think the decision 3 years ago, which you might remember, Shari, when I decided that I was going to go back and get my PhD in psychology, which is something I have always wanted to do, that was the first step of, hey, I want to do this, and I'm not really sure where it's going to lead me, but I know it's going to lead me somewhere, because I felt very pulled to do it, and the timing was right, and I took advantage of the opportunity. And then it was trying to figure out what my research was going to be in, because when I first started this journey, I would never have thought that my research would have pulled me into the animal care community, simply because my frame of reference was very much like, animal rescue is something that I do on the side. It's my volunteer, it's my free time kind of thing. It wasn't the livelihood or the full-time work. I never thought about it even being that. And so once I started to realize what I wanted to do my research in, I realized that, wow, this is an area where I can provide help and support and information and resources for these amazing people who are saving animals. And so it was, again, a series of just small decisions on the path of obtaining my PhD. And again, like if you had told me 3 years ago, oh, in 3 years, this is what you're going to be doing your research on, and you're going to be shifting your business focus to working with animal care professionals, I would have been like, nah, I don't think so. But what I find so interesting is each decision that I make to more kind of ground myself and plant myself in this area feels more and more right. So it's this feeling of each step, it's just, I get not only internal confirmation that, oh yes, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, but there's also a lot of external validation, synchronicities, things lining up in a way where I'm not forcing it. It's just kind of happening. I'm taking steps, obviously, to kind of move in a direction, but there's a lot that's not in my control that just seems to be coming to me, which I feel like is confirmation that, hey, I am on the right track and this is what I am doing.
That's so awesome. It's great to hear that. And I'm curious about, you said kind of this internal feeling,
Mm-hmm.
and then the external validation. So can you say a little bit more about what is that internal feeling for you? What it sounds like you're kind of being guided by that and the little steps. I'm curious about what is that for you?
Let me see if I can put it into words. So I spent a lot of my career, my professional life, and I'm sure many people can relate to this, just doing the things that you're supposed to do and taking the steps, the prescribed steps, and you get advice from people who you respect and who have been around longer than you. And so you just kind of move in a direction and it's just like, yeah, this is okay. I'm okay with this. And then there are times like right now, and I'd say over the past 8 months for me, where it's like an internal, it almost feels to me like something clicks in place. And I can sense this when I coach my clients. It's an intuitive thing, but they say something and I get this feeling inside like, that's right. Like that, they're skipping over this, but we need to go back and talk about that because there's something there. And so it's the same kind of feeling of, oh, it's clicking. This feels like I'm in space that is aligned with my values, with where I want to go with my life, with how I want to serve. Because that's also very important is, am I serving in a way that makes the best use of my skills and abilities and is providing a much needed value into the world? So that all just feels like it kind of like a puzzle piece that kind of clicks in place. That's the best way I can describe it.
I love how you said that. It's great. That's great. I mean, it's so hard to describe this intuitive feel and kind of break down your own process.
Exactly,
But,
right?
right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to break down your own process, but the more that we can become aware of our own process, each of us, it's just you, me, everyone, the better we can be like, oh, there's that thing, and you can kind of go sniff it out. So I love how you're following that intuition and instinct and the passion. You guys can hear all of that. I can hear it all coming together. And then the practical steps that you're taking, that's a big deal to commit to a PhD program.
Mm-hmm. It is. I won't like just make light of that. It's a big commitment. And one thing I would say is that anybody who's looking to do it, there has to be a strong why, an internally driven, this is the reason I'm doing it, because that's what's going to pull you through. And Shari, I know you know this because we've spoken a bit over the past few months, but the dissertation process is no joke. It is challenging, it is cumbersome, and I've had more times than not where I'm just like, why am I doing this? So you have to have that why. Like there has to be that deeper pull to get you through all the nitty-gritty, exhausting pieces.
So I'm curious about that because you've written 3 books. So
Right.
writing 3 books, writing 1 book is no joke, and you opted to write 3
Right.
and a dissertation. So what are some of the challenges that you face in writing your dissertation versus writing the books?
Okay, so my books were at least my second 2 books were more a personal experience, things that nobody can really argue with, because they were mine. They were my experiences. And the editing process of writing a book is always challenging for me, but the dissertation is very formulaic. Scholarly writing is very different from freeform. I'm going to write a book. It's going to be about what I want it to be about. I mean, the dissertation is find the piece of the literature there where there is a gap, like something's missing, and I'm going to fill it with my study. And then that's it. That's all you're focused on. I tend to like to go off and, oh, I could do this and I could do this. And, oh, no, it's right here. Stay in your box. This is all you get to focus on. And then the review process is quite challenging because, and I don't remember how many times my book was edited or how many times I had to read it, but all I can say is that one chapter of my dissertation I've been working on since March, one chapter. So I could probably recite it to you, but at the same time, it keeps evolving. So it's almost like I have this thought, like, is it ever going to be finished? Are we ever going to get this chapter to a place where like, we're done, we can move on to the next one? So it's just a different process is really, and it's very prescribed. So for me, I have to just take off the creative and also the opinion. I can't give my opinion. I have to give factual data. And then once I do my study, I can tell you what my data from my study says. But my opinion, nobody cares. Not yet anyway. Maybe eventually, but not right now. So it's just different.
Yeah, that's interesting. So when you look back over your professional career, what are you most proud of so far?
There's a lot of things that I've done in my career that I'm proud of. I think when I look back 25 years of my career, I'm proud of just the different things that I've done. So being in the corporate world for a long time and just having that experience of climbing the corporate ladder, I feel like that training, and it was early in my career, the first 15 years of my career, so maybe actually more than half, but it's good training. I mean, there is, and you know this, right? There's nothing quite like that training of corporate America that will, I think it has served me very well in running my business. And that training, I think, then makes me very proud of the past 10 years of running my own business. I don't think I would have been as successful had I not had that training, because there's the perseverance and the hustle and the grind that I just, again, being committed to my business, I kept up with it and worked through difficult seasons, and businesses are always, ebb and flow, and you just have to work through it. But also some of the clients I've served in my business over the past 10 years, I've been incredibly blessed with, again, being able to work for big companies, small companies, individually with people. And now, again, very proud of where it's leading me to a place that I never would have imagined, but one that feels like, this is what I've been preparing for very unknowingly.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so great. I love that. So you've done a lot of work in leadership development, and I'm curious what you would say what would you say is kind of a silly question because people ask it, but I'm really curious to hear your thoughts. Right now, what do you think are the top 3 leadership skills that you're using right now?
Okay, so for self-leadership,
Yep.
So integrity is a big one. And so it's very internal because I'm leading myself, but it's what am I committed to? And what do I know is most important in my life in this next stage of my career? And am I acting in alignment with that? Because it's one thing to say it, here's what I want to do, and here's why it's so important. It's another thing to then take the steps to actually do it. So that integrity is a big one. The other one for me right now is probably I don't know if just confidence or positive affirmation. It's really easy, and I think anybody who's been through career reinvention, to have a lot of self-doubt. And so I can't show up as a strong leader in the space I want to step into if I am not digging deep, inside of me, knowing who I am, all the successes that I've had, and then kind of bringing that forward with me instead of thinking, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't have the right experience. Why would these people want to talk to me? I mean, because it's really easy in a new space to feel and let that self-doubt overcome you. So I think just being able to, as I think about any good leader that I've had in my career has always been just inspiring me to be my best. So I have to do that for myself.
That's fabulous. So on the flip side, when you think about what if you're willing to share one of the biggest challenges that you've had in your career so far, and some things that you did to get yourself out of that.
So probably there's two. One challenge that I've had, and this I can take it all the way back to when I was 22, has been paying attention to what I am being pulled to do versus what society or my family or anybody else says I should do. So getting my PhD, for example, is something I wanted to do when I was 22, and I had the opportunity, and I didn't because of external influences about what was the better career path choice for me. I knew back then it was something I wanted to do, but hey, I'm glad I'm doing it now, so it all works out. But that just kind of was a lot of how my early career progressed. I was just listening to what people said I should do, no matter how it felt to me. So it's been a challenge. I've gotten, as I get older, I get much better at paying attention to what's best for me and others, but just what's the internal pull, and because that's how I'm going to serve best, is if I'm paying attention to what's pulling me and what's most meaningful. The other thing, and I just mentioned it, is the self-doubt. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and it doesn't matter really how many accolades, books, letters after your name. It really doesn't matter if you don't believe in yourself. So, and everybody can believe in you and they can tell you, but if you don't believe it yourself, if you doubt yourself, you're never going to feel as fulfilled as you could. So, and that's been a big challenge for me, is to not let self-doubt get the best of me, especially as I transition into a new chapter of my career.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Yeah, it's always hard. We have our comfort zone, and then there's that stretch zone. There's the little toes in the fear zone, and then you come running back, and you're like, I can't do this. Who am I to think I can do this?
I've done that. I'm like, look, I'm not doing this. I'm backing away.
Yeah. I mean, I have too, and it's I love what you said about corporate too, because it really sounds like that experience helped shape you into a place where you could encounter these challenges and be able to work your way through them. And that's a beautiful thing. So, well, thank you for sharing that. So one of the other things I'm curious about is, what advice would you give to someone, let's say they have a good job, or it's pretty secure, and they're so sick of it, and they feel kind of guilty about even feeling bad, like feeling like they want to look for something else or even do something else, because, hey, you have it pretty good right now. You should be grateful. You should be thankful, especially now in a pandemic. Mm-hmm. What advice would you give to folks who are really on the cusp of getting ready to, or would really love to be able to reinvent or do something different?
So I think the advice I would give is, just take it one step at a time. So I would not ever tell somebody, oh, just quit your job, because I know that there's a lot that goes with that. I remember when I left corporate, it was during the last recession. It was in 2009, and everyone was like, what, are you crazy? But I didn't just leave. I had a plan for leaving. I had it was just a very specific strategy of how much time I had to give myself time, because you can't just start a business. It doesn't, you don't just jump into, oh, I'm making as much money as I was making. That's just not realistic. So I think what I would tell people is never lose sight of your dream, never sacrifice your soul for a job. And so if you're feeling all that, like I have this dream, I want to do something different. Okay, so let's start putting together a plan for how you're going to do that. And then it's literally, and like I said earlier, I didn't know necessarily where I was going to end up after finishing my PhD. I still don't. But if you just take one small step every day towards whatever that thing is that you're trying to get to, whether it's a new job, your own business, you'll get there. But you've got to just say, okay, this is where I want to get to. So let's back it up and figure out what's the first step. And the first step, if it's a job you're sick of and you want a new job, it may be just let's put your resume together. And then that leads you to the next thing. You can't know every step. You just can't. And even if you did, they would change. So it's just taking the first step towards whatever that goal is out there.
Such good advice, such wisdom. So what's next for you? Are you working on your dissertation? Are you working now? What's going on for you now?
So I'm working on my dissertation. It is my top priority. And I am also starting to do more work in the animal care community. I still have my coaching business. And if anybody were to go to my website, they would see I have a little tab now for services for animal care professionals, because I am doing some work for a company right now called Vetvine. They're a veterinary education company. I'm facilitating pet loss support groups for them. I'm writing articles for them. And so I'm definitely getting into that space of beginning to serve more people, whether in, veterinary practices or animal rescue organizations. But that's really where my focus is right now, is to kind of make my way into these communities and see what they need and see how I can help them.
So awesome. I just love what you're doing. You're so inspiring. I'm all buzzed up over here.
Well, thank you, because you have been a huge help to me through this process. So thank you.
Oh my gosh, my honor and my pleasure, truly. So is there anything else that you'd like to share with our viewers? I will have your website listed, andriacorso.com. Is there some kind of final closing thoughts you'd like to share with folks?
I would say never lose sight of dreams that you had from a long time ago, because what started me on this journey was a conversation 3 years ago. I know you were part of it, Shari, but it was with a friend of mine who, somebody asked me, if you could be doing anything right now with your extra time, what would you be doing? And I said, oh, well, that's easy. I would go back to school and get my PhD in psychology. And that is because it was something that I've always wanted to do from when I was 22 years old. And I didn't take advantage of it then. An opportunity came up for me again, maybe 10 years later, didn't take advantage of it then. And so my friend called it, oh, it's an interrupted dream. You have an interrupted dream that you need to fulfill now, because I had the opportunity again. So don't lose sight of those things, and don't assume just because many years have gone by that you can't go back and revisit that interrupted dream. Because I can tell you that by finally honoring what I wanted to do, and people might think that's a weird thing to want to do, but going back and getting my PhD is what is leading me now into this work that I'm really excited about and feel very strongly about, getting out there and just helping people who need it in the animal care community. So don't lose sight of your long ago dreams.
Beautiful, beautiful. So there you have it. Really looking back over your lifetime, what dream has been interrupted? Mm-hmm. You just gave me chills when you're talking about interrupted dreams. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, how cool. You go back, there's the pause button and you live a life, and then here it is again, the dream, the possibility. Am I going to do it? Is it now? Is it time? Do I cast my net? Just beautifully stated. So thank you so much for being part of this series. I'm just so excited for you, and congratulations on all your success. And boy, is this industry lucky to have you. I mean, seriously, listen to you. You're incredible. And you've got full focus and commitment and passion and expertise. Boy, it's I can't wait to see where you go next and how this all unfolds for you. Yeah, my pleasure. So thanks so much for joining us, and thanks for all the folks that are viewing this. And we'll go off and sign off for now, and stay tuned for our next episode. Thank you so much, Andrea.
Thank you, Shari.